What an excellent session there, and the perfect way to kickstart day 2, ladies and gentlemen, and the first day here at the Founders and Funders Forum, of course, as well. And yes, all of us can relate, I'm sure, when it comes to the sheer terror of when you lose your mobile phone. The panic hits, doesn't it? Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next discussion. And next up, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about communication in the age of AI, a topic that has shaped the very way that we connect, inform, and inspire. But the question is, ladies and gentlemen, how do we ensure that AI enhances human connection rather than replacing it? Well, who better to give us the latest updates and insights than our next panelists? So, ladies and gentlemen, please do join me in welcoming our brilliant lineup of guests. First up, we have Abou Moustafa, who is the head of Large Enterprise EITC at Do. A very warm welcome. Abou, wonderful to have you here. Please do take a seat. Dr. Anuraag Guglaani is our next guest. He is the board member, co-investor, and chairperson of multiple family business groups in the MEASA region at Wazir. Fantastic to have you here as well with us. And rounding out our panel very nicely, we have Nitin, who is corporate HR manager at RA International UAE. A very warm welcome. Please do be seated. And yes, what a brilliant panel lineup we have for you for our next discussion. And yes, as I mentioned, everything communication in the age of AI. Right, Abou, let's start off with you. Let's go straight in. What does communication mean in the age of AI?
It's a very good question. Good morning, everyone. And I want to start with by thanking IGF for inviting us. Thank you. Always, this is a prestigious forum, and welcome everyone in UAE. Let me start with the question to the audience. Always audience are expecting me to answer, but I want to start with the questions. How many of you communicated with AI today? Show of hands, please. This is quite few. Now think about this. You know 2.5 billion people communicated with AI every day, from optimizing our commutes to shaping our daily news. AI is unseen force. It's already shaping our life and how we experience the world. And when it goes to the customer service, it's not limited to single industry. Starting from the banking, now we can see all the banks move to AI, mainly in the customer service. We have here Mashreq Bank decided to switch off and cancel all the physical branches and only relying on a chatbot virtual assistants when it comes to the banking services. Emirates NBD integrated 200 instant services in their application powered by AI. When it comes to education sectors, I introduced robot teacher to 16 years old students last GITEX in October this year. And imagine, the students can ask any question and they get the answer in any language. So there is no limitations and the barriers from the language. This is the impact that we have from AI. When it comes to retail, because I'm a commercial leader, I believe only in dollar signs. So retail sales only coming from a chatbot's interactions increased from $7 billion. Keep this number. This was 2022 to what? $112 billion last year, 2023, as per Juniper Research. And in UAE, conversational AI generated revenue last year, $318 million, expected to $1.2 billion in 2030 as per Grand View Research. This is the impact of AI. AI can enhance the communication in customer services by mainly 3 factors. Handle customer inquiries immediately, quickly, efficiently. Second is analyze customer data for personalized experience. And the last is anticipate issues before happening and suggest solutions. This is just a brief on the impact of AI in our customer communication now.
I mean, the impact is absolutely phenomenal, and some of the figures you've just given us there as well. But actually, AI has been around for quite a long time. last year was actually the year of AI, and now we're really seeing it come into play. And I don't think we realised that there's actually quite a lot of AI that's been underplaying in the undercurrent quite a long time anyway, hasn't it? But very quickly, Dr. Anuraag, really wonderful to have you here. Now, just a bit of background on you. Very interesting. You're an ex-Air Force fighter jet pilot. I've been hearing. You're also the recipient of the US President's Lifetime Achievement Award. You've got some incredible achievements under your belt. You do a lot with different international companies as well. What is your area of expertise around AI? What's your focus?
I came to the panel, so I thought I'll add some spice to it.
Please, yeah.
But let me ask this, since you asked a question, I'll also ask a question. How many of you ever dreamt of becoming a fighter jet pilot ever?
Oh, trust me, I did.
Very cool job, my goodness.
So that was my life dream. At the age of 17, I was fortunate to get accepted in one of the toughest military officer academies in the world. And at the age of 21, I was flying MiGs. But unfortunately, that career didn't last very long because during an aerobatic maneuver, where I was driven more by emotions and gut feel and over enthusiasm, I tried a second loop, and the distance between ground and air was not adequate enough. The aircraft crashed, I ejected, and that was the day of realization that sometimes emotions can overpower. And since we are talking about AI pilots is not very distant dream. In fact, AI co-pilots who are emotionally detached are going to become the norm very, very soon, till people accept that they are okay to fly in an aircraft unmanned, right? So that's part of where the flying part comes in. But subsequently, many years before, I decided that I need to now fly on the ground. So I today sit on the board of 8 of the largest family business groups in the region, responsible for driving their transformation, turnaround, scalability, investments, and expansion. And I also have a holding firm, which is a multi-family office. We co-invest along with large family business groups in terms of scaling into different geographies. Right? And incidentally, I also hold 2 doctorates. One doctorate is in intelligent automation, and which is why probably I add some value from that perspective. And the second doctorate is on family business disruption, 2 very, very critical parameters for family businesses. So all my exposure is around family businesses, and I'm happy to add value there.
It's going to be interesting from an investor perspective from you a little later on as well. Funny you say, there's AI is going to be used as a co-pilot, because people say that AI is going to be used as a co-pilot just in general. It's basically going to be our tool, our co-pilot, exactly. And Nitin, wonderful to have you here.
Thank
now,
you.
what would you say is more important for communication? The ability to empathize and have a real human connection, or speed and efficiency and get the chatbot to do it right now?
See, I think I'd agree with both of my colleagues. We need to have change and development in place. However, it does not have to be at the cost of emotions and empathy. So most important, I think, I had my colleague talking about banks. So most of you today, if I ask a raise of hand, how many of you are frustrated with the chatbots of banks? There you go. So with the development of artificial intelligence, we need to understand there's an intelligence getting developed in human as well. So back in the days when my mother would be able to go to a bank with the passbook, get her entry done, today my mother can call a bank and she can speak to them. While the next generation uses most of the mobile apps to know your balances, statements, and other stuff, right? So if I am calling, it means I'm trying to reach a human, right? So we need to break a pattern where we're saying everything needs to be AI driven. Otherwise, it will lead to digital isolation. People will get isolated. There will be communication gap. And I mean, it comes to talent as well. Today, a lot of trainings that we're developing, a lot of content that we're developing stands alone on digital platforms, right? There is very less classroom feedbacks or classroom sessions happening across. But I think most of our development in the past, and I think both of my colleagues will agree, happened in our classroom trainings. We sat together, did brainstorming, and I think AI came out of those brainstorming of somebody in that session.
Well, as you mentioned, I mean, there is an element of frustration when you speak to these chatbots. But my bank does it quite well, in fact, because you have the automated service. You basically go through all the options. Okay, we're going to put you through to someone. So it's that really nice mix of both of, finally I'm going to speak to a person, But there is a lot of frustration for me, and obviously with our audience.
Like I said, it has to be a balance, absolute balance
Yeah.
between human empathy and the artificial intelligence. Remember, the system is developed by human eventually, right? So it could have its own bias in place, but you need to have human interaction in place.
I'm going to speak about bias in just a moment, actually. But Abou, what do you think when it comes to human oversight and creativity, when it comes to AI, to sort of enhance rather than undermine a human connection and experience?
It's a very important question. So chatbots, I agree with you, have been criticized when it comes to the complex interactions. So there is lack of human emotions or empathy. This is a big gap currently on the AI systems. But also we cannot deny AI systems, they are very, very well and excel when it comes to the speed, personalization, and fast responses. And from my point of view, it's about a balance. It cannot be binary either or. So my colleagues in the previous panel mentioned the hybrid model. So we can balance between the human, and the human can always step in when it comes to the complex problem solvings or emotional, conversational is needed. And allow AI to go with the routine, frequent asked questions, and human can step in once needed. And there are a lot of progress here in this domain. Companies like Google, Microsoft, and the IBM, currently they are in front of developing AI to make it more empathetic. And they are working on natural language processing and the machine learning techniques to make AI more human emotionals. And this is, again, coming with the more development techniques. I believe we're still at the beginning of the journey. From my point of view, just applying different strategies to balance between the human empathy and the AI when it comes to the speed and personalization that we are in bad need for it when it comes to the scale. One is human in the loop. Allow AI to deal with the routine. And when it comes to the banking, when it comes to more complex or emotional or even just escalation of any fraud, the human has to step in. Second is sentiment analysis. Use sentiment analysis to measure the emotion level. Then adjust responses accordingly and allow AI to learn. The last is allow user to escalate if any misuse or any frustration. So this can be reported, and again, the AI will allow. But we cannot say no emotions from AI and shut it down. We need to allow AI to learn more and step in. And believe me, even the conversational that will start, the human, the end user, will start to adapt, starting to ask specific commands or specific sentiment for the AI to get the quick responses. And many of us are starting to adapt the language when it comes to speak to the AI or the voice command when it comes to the banking as just our daily activities.
I suppose when it comes to customer service, especially in the banking industry, even if you are speaking to a person, then they don't really give you that much sympathy, do they anyway? So it's like, but you're speaking to someone and it's going to get done, and I don't know, there's more trust there, I suppose, right now. But just very quickly going back to the family business aspect of things, how are family businesses using AI to their advantage? Give us an insight.
See, the global statistics about family businesses are that 70% of family businesses, unfortunately, do not survive into second generation, and 90% don't survive into third generation. And those are very alarming statistics, because we are talking about a lot of livelihoods. I mean, even in this country and a lot of countries which operate, majority, the backbone of the economy is family business, right? So here in the UAE, that was identified. In fact, Sheikh Mohammed, when a major scenario happened with one of the biggest family businesses here, where the chairman passed away, created a lot of chaos. And that gave birth to something called family business law, right, which pretty much exists only in this part of the world, and a blueprint around family governance with one single objective, that these family businesses should thrive and survive into subsequent generations. Now, ironically, what's also happening is that we have the young generation, who has had the privilege of growing up in luxury and getting educated in some of the top universities in the Western world. And when they come back and want to join the family businesses, they don't really like the way they are being run, because they are run in a very traditional manner, right? And which is where about 8 years back, I came up with this solution that technology adoption could be a bridge between this generational shift, right? Not so much from the perspective that you are improving the efficiency of the organization, but more also that how do you bring the young generation also to become a part of this and make it tech attractive. And about 8 years back, I started a program for the private sector here called automation, intelligent automation, which at that stage used to be called something called RPA, which is robotic process automation, where you have bots which mimic the action of human beings, right? And they pretty much start doing that work better, more efficient, not getting digressed by a WhatsApp message coming from home or whatever, and can do multiple functions. Of late, these bots have become artificially intelligent, and with LLM and machine learning, they are constantly upgraded themselves. So today, and we have deployed things like this across multiple family businesses. One bot can actually, I wouldn't say the word take away the jobs of 6 people, but make those 6 people more valuable to the organization to focus on what human beings are best at, which is change management, emotional management, people transformation, and all of this. Even today, when we go around family business transformation, while everybody thinks it's about supply chain transformation, finance, cash flow, and all of that, 80% of the problems are because of the humans not adapting to that change. So a lot of work is done around that. So AI has been deployed in this manner. There's another program which I created, which was about startup adoption. So any startup which is coming up with a technology disruption to a traditional business model, we created a program of adopting that startup under a 51-49 equity ratio and bring them on a plug-and-play mechanism into the family business. So with the two-pronged approach, it supports the founders of the startups for immediately go-to-market, and it helps the younger generation take charge and bring in that technology innovation inside the family business.
Really interesting. Wow. Very quickly, because we are running out of time, these sessions go incredibly quickly. Back over to you, Nitin. I just wanted to sort of swing back into the interaction of these different types of AI models, because obviously that type of interaction, that automated service, caters to the majority of people. So what happens to the minority that don't fit in with that? Because at the end of the day, it's just data input, right?
So, I mean, I've said this before in my previous sessions as well. With artificial intelligence comes data biasness and algorithm biasness. So like it is developed by any individual, it needs to learn. And I think both my colleague has been repeating that the system needs to learn and evolve over the period of time. We've just stepped foot in the room. It's not that we know the artificial intelligence by hand or back of our hand. It will take a lot of years for us to adapt the artificial intelligence. But yes, there will be outliers, there will be biasness which needs to be controlled, and ethically guidelines needs to be put in place. I think that's majorly required here.
We've only got 5 minutes, so just a quick question each right at the end. And I wanted to continue actually with some of the ethical considerations that we need to think about, Abou. What do you think needs to be prioritized when using these different types of AI communication tools?
I think this is a critical question. So the AI ethics is very important, and it has to be governance, and we have to develop a framework how to use and how to utilize the AI. Because you see, it has now, we have access to massive data, either personal or public or even government level. So this is very important to regulate this. In UAE, we developed the AI ethics framework and the guidelines in 2017, and this is overlaid with the ethics of AI. And this should be overlaid with the data protection law, which is governance, how to use each personal data, privacy, and how can we get just the maximum use of it without any privacy leak or so. But this is very important. Framework for AI ethics to make it happen with the maximum benefit of use and avoid any risk associated with.
Very well said. And actually, speaking of regulation, Dr. Guglaani, you've also actually been involved in the policy formation around the UAE cybersecurity law, data privacy law, and many others as well. So how would you say AI disruption is very much both a risk and an opportunity at the same time?
See, we operate businesses in 26 countries in 24 different industries, right? And I, as a board member, I am a qualified CISM, which is Certified Information Security Manager, Certified Data Privacy Solution Engineer, Certified in Governance of Enterprise IT. And I don't need that for a job, but I do that for a simple reason that if the board level you don't understand technology and technology risk, there is no way you can support the organization or the C-suite of the organization to take decisions which are in the interest of mitigating that risk. Because I form boards, we also have this rule set in that gray-haired men cannot comprise more than 60% of the board seats, and balance 40% should be equally divided between women and youth, so that they can bring in that angle or aspect which is differentiated, right? And fortunately, now in the UAE, it has been mandated that there should be one woman on the board mandatorily. So technology risk is classified as the highest business risk today, not spoken about, but I have at least 100,000 cases in UAE where companies have paid ransom, they've been hacked. Ransoms from a minor amount of 200,000 dirhams to $75 million have been the ransoms asked for. So the whole problem is because people have adopted technology very quickly after COVID, but mitigating that risk around it, the talent doesn't exist, that mindset of putting budgets around that does not exist, and the education of people is not there, right? And similar situation is happening now with the AI adoption, because there is so much of, around it, and which is why we play a very, very strong role in creating those AI governance techniques so that businesses across multiple countries can be managed centrally and governed well.
And that's the thing, that cybersecurity aspect, a lot of people forget about that, and it's always sort of, later down the list because people don't really want to spend the money. Sure. But I mean, the security and insurance that you need as technology advances is vital. So, like the final word for you, Nitin, how will AI transform the future of communication going forward? What do you see is going to happen?
So it will change. Like I said, with time, we will need to develop. Remember 3 things. We cannot lose our creativity because of technology. I see from an HR perspective today, a lot of CVs, resumes just being pulled out from the system and thrown to recruiters, or systems at candidate screening being developed which rejects qualified CVs. So ethical guidelines needs to be in place. The communication will increase. You cannot avoid change that's going to come. But do not lose your creativity and do not lose your cognitive ability. It is going to be the human factor which drives AI in the right direction. If we lose that, like with the use of calculator, people have stopped using 25 into 25 in their brain today. But with the artificial intelligence, we should not lose our creativity.
Very, very well said. Sadly, that is all we have time for, but we cannot thank you enough for your insights there. And any other further questions, please do make sure you speak to any of our speakers. Do connect with them just outside after this. But in the meantime, let's hear it for our panel. Absolutely brilliant.